We are back at Seward Park in 2024. Super excited to be back out here. I got a really bad clip in at the start there. Luckily that doesn't really matter at all at Seward. But super excited to be back out here racing the 5:30. Yesterday, April 11th, I raced the 5:30 and then I started the 6 p.m. race and then bailed out like 20 minutes into it. But let's introduce some of the players here. This guy right in front of me is my teammate Bailey. Bailey is super strong, but this was his first time racing a crit. He just started road racing earlier this spring and he's never done a crit before. But he's got crazy fitness. That being said, he came into this particular race knowing that he's had a tough week of training already, and so his goal coming out here was just to feel out the course and get a sense for what racing Seward is like, and he wasn't really trying to win the race or anything. I told him that if he was feeling good, he should go for one of the preems, but here he is on the very front of the group going into the first hill here. I actually, right about here, was like, ah, shoot, this is not where I want to be. I don't even really want to be second wheel right at the start of the race. But that being said, I'll just go up the hill at a slower speed than normal, let some people come around me naturally. And then, in addition to Bailey, we have two other teammates out here. Teammate Mark is in a blue helmet, and I'm sure will show up later in the video. And then teammate Matt, who is a triathlete that's relatively new to the team, and this was also his first time racing a crit. So both he and Bailey really just kind of feeling it out. Mark has raced Seward a bunch of times. Here's Mark in the frame right now. Fun fact about Mark, this was his first time racing Seward in an actual bike kit. You might remember him from some of the Seward videos last year coming out in like khakis or khaki shorts because he came straight from work, which I always kind of made fun of him for. But now he's out here in the Taco Time colors, and I couldn't be happier to have him on the team. Couple more dudes to look out for here. This guy in the red helmet, I don't remember his name. I know I've talked to him before last year. Apologies. That kit is Organic Gnar Harvest, which I think is a cross team. It's a pretty sweet kit if you ask me. And then my buddy Nigel is also on that team. You'll see him later in the race in the same purple and pink kit. And then this guy over is kind of far to the right now. In the dark blue kit there on the sweet classic Le Mans bike. I didn't catch his name either, but he was super strong, as you'll see throughout the race. And you know, good to see some of the same faces out here as last year, and some new guys as well. And then I also didn't catch this dude's name, but this dude in the brown here on the Look bike was a super steady wheel. He was a taller guy, so there's some people whose wheels I just don't want to be on because they're not going to provide nearly as much draft, like unfortunately Mark here to the left. And actually this guy to my right here is, you can see he's super small, super aerodynamic, and so I'm going to try to be on teammate Matt's wheel here or the guy in the brown kit as well. I also will probably pick on him a little bit during the race, but this rider in black in front of me was just riding a little bit erratically, so that's kind of another reason I didn't want to be on his wheel. You could kind of see through that section. He was just waving back and forth a little bit on the road. Not sure if that's like he's not used to riding in groups and he was just trying to really hold his position going into that turn. I totally get, being nervous about positioning going into that turn. But that's another rider who I'm going to try to avoid a little bit, or at least very least not be on their wheel as we go into the race. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what my plan was for the race. I know I mentioned that Bailey and Matt, my teammates, kind of just were out here to feel out the course, feel out what it's like to ride this particular race, ride this course. And then Mark didn't really have anything in mind. He said he was willing to work for me some. I told him that I didn't really expect him to work for me, and he's happy to, go for preems or go for the win if he wants. My plan was to win. I came out here with pretty good fitness over the winter and spring here, and I wanted to win this race. And that can come in a couple forms. I kind of was trying to feel out the field a little bit if I wanted to attack on the hill really hard and try and get separation, like my twin brother actually did in the 6 p.m. race. He won that race by something like 3 seconds by attacking on the hill on the last lap. My other option is to just try and stick with guys and beat them in a sprint. I chose option 2 as we went into this race, and watching the footage back and having a day of hindsight here, I feel like that was maybe not the ideal decision necessarily, and you'll see why a bit later in the race. I also was feeling pretty good at this point. I mean, my heart rate, granted we just went down the hill, but was super controlled on some of these earlier laps. We're doing the hill at like 450 watts or something, which is, relatively easy for Seward, and just kind of cruising in the pack. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling like, unlike I did last year, maybe I'll try to go for one of the preems this year, or this race rather. And we get the preem, first preem, just about 8 minutes into the race. I'm feeling like I'm in pretty good position here, like 4th or 5th wheel is pretty much exactly where I'd like to be, as long as these guys don't light it up too hard. I obviously don't want to lose their wheel. I talked to my teammate Bailey there, had him let me kind of cut him on the inside as I was coming around him, just because I want to maintain this speed. Again, I think the thing that really hurt me here was indecisiveness. I was going to say indecision. I felt like right about here was probably where I made the decision to really go for this preem, but I still just wasn't 100% sure how I wanted to do it, and I think I needed to attack earlier and harder. So I see this Apex guy, I think, okay, maybe he's trying to do a little flyer, he's got a teammate on the front, but my teammate marks that, so I'm not super concerned about it. I am a little worried. This is a few wheels further back now than I would like to be, maybe literally just a wheel or two, but this rider in blue is pushing really hard and is willing to make up those wheels, so I'm just going to sit on his wheel going into the hill. It gets a little bit compressed. I'm a little freaked out there because of that grate. Obviously, that's a place where it'd be really easy to crash. And here's where I should have just hammered it. I thought, okay, I'm going to sit in these guys' wheel, and I should have just hit it earlier. I did hit it there, but it just wasn't quite hard enough. Right around here, I look to my left, and I see that I didn't have time to get separation from that rider in blue. He's basically right to the left of me. I think neither one of us really wanted to slow down because we were neck and neck, and we didn't want to let the other person go in our draft, and we obviously didn't want to get caught by the guys behind. But I start sprinting, and right there I realize I'm not going to get it. Super strong sprint from that dude. We do have a couple seconds of separation on the field now, and he just beat me straight up. I think my better play would have been to attack a little bit earlier on the hill there, but he just beat me in the sprint. So I'm going to stop the voiceover and just let the action play out from here for a little bit. I didn't go for the second preem, but Mark, my teammate, did. He didn't quite make it, but he and a group of 3 got a little bit of separation, but they did eventually get brought back. He told me after the race that just nobody wanted to work, which is understandable, but I think with a strong group of 3, you could probably stay away from this field if you were willing to work together. But I'll just let the race play out.
I tried to chase you down. you. Guys. Yeah, we gotta push pace a little bit.
Alright, coming into the last lap, I am once again close to where I'd like to be here. I don't like this little separation that this group has, but it's pretty easy to slingshot around riders, especially if you're not in the first position, down this hill and make the catch. And I also know from experience that this rider in the red helmet is willing to put in a bit of work, so I feel like he's a pretty safe wheel to be on to try and make sure that we are going to get contact with this front group going again before the hill. And for just a second right there, I was thinking about slingshotting by, and I don't know if that was intentional from this rider in the blue, but he moved over just a tiny bit to the left, and it really prevented my attack. So once again, I'm on this dude's wheel leading into the hill. This time I really don't want to lose too many positions here. So again, I'm on his wheel, just letting him do the work to pull us up. He was a pretty big dude, so the draft off him was really good. But again, I actually feel like this was my mistake, was I was just not totally decisive about how I wanted to attack, and I chose to sit in, but then I decided to attack later on the hill, which you just got to attack earlier to get any kind of separation. It's not a very long hill, and this guy in front of us, I don't know if he had shifting issues or what. It looked like he had to stop pedaling for a second on the hill and then was maybe stuck in a really big gear there or something. I don't think I was actually doing 0 watts there. I think that was my power meter like glitching out. But at this point, I definitely had to stop pedaling for a sec, and at this point I'm just trying to come over this guy, and I just screwed up this sprint, man. If I had started sprinting a second earlier, I think I could have had that, as I said to him right there. But you know what? First week out at Seward, pretty happy with the second place to start the season, and we'll see how it goes.